Okay, just looking here at the childrenssociety.org UK website. Old Enough to Know Better is the page. Now, I'd like to say firstly that society has a greater tolerance for so-called, as far as exploitation of children is concerned, society has a greater tolerance for females exploiting children sexually than it does for males sexually exploiting children. So that's discrimination on grounds of gender, of course. And of course, we know that the Children's Society won't defend male children from genital mutilation, male genital mutilation, they won't. But let's have a look here anyway. The childrenssociety.org UK. Vulnerable children are targeted the most. We know from our own specialist services that people who sexually exploit children particularly prey on the most vulnerable 16 and 17-year-olds. They will go to great lengths to target vulnerable young people using gifts, affection, money, alcohol, drugs, or the promise of love. Victims are commonly teenagers in the care system with backgrounds of abuse and neglect, learning disabilities, or with mental health problems. The law fails to give older teenagers the same protection as younger children. So they're concerned about children over the age of 16 and up to 18 years, of course. That's what they're saying. 16 and 17-year-olds can consent to sex in healthy relationships, what they call healthy, of course. But because of legal inconsistencies, there is a dangerous lack of understanding about how situations where they are being coerced or groomed into sex constitutes child sexual exploitation. This means older teenagers are not seen as victims and don't get the same protection or help as younger children. So the Children's Society are concerned about children between 16 and 18 years, and they still want them to be considered as children and capable of being sexually exploited. Huge numbers of sexual offences against older teenagers in England and Wales in the last year went unreported and unpunished because victims were gripped by the fear of not being believed, being scared of the process, or thought the offence wasn't worth reporting. We see in our frontline work how these vulnerable teenagers are often not recognised as victims of exploitation. Professionals can be unsure or reluctant to intervene, and the police can find it very difficult to bring perpetrators to justice. Well, that's what I wanted to read, just those points there from the Children's Society in Britain, how they're all very concerned about protecting older children, well, children that are between 16 and 18 years. Of course, I've said that they won't protect a male child from genital mutilation, so that they leave a lot to be desired as real carers of children. But I was saying that society has a greater tolerance for children being exploited. If women exploit a child, well, sexually, society has a greater tolerance for it. This is the words from Maggie May by Rod Stewart and Martin Quintenton. Now, this is a song. This was a pop song, and it was about, apparently, according to the Children's Society, the exploitation of a child. Wake up, Maggie, I think I've got something to say to you. It's late September, and I really should be back at school. So Maggie May is sexually exploiting a child. He really should be back at school. You finish school when you're 18 and a half, don't you? About 18 to 18 and a half. So, yes, anything up to 18. So, this is a school child that Maggie May is exploiting. I know I keep you amused, but I feel I'm being used. So, Maggie May is exploiting the boy. She is. And he should be back at school. Oh, Maggie, I couldn't have tried any more. You lured me away from home just to save you from being alone. So this is said 3 times in the song. You lured me away from home. And I'm just using this song to show how society can, they have such a great tolerance for female sexual exploitation of a male child, but it doesn't work the other way, does it? If this Maggie May song was about an older man exploiting a girl, we'd be very concerned. You lured me away from home. That's said 3 times. just to save you from being alone. You stole my heart. So she used love, didn't she? She used love and affection to steal the attentions of a boy. And that's what really hurts. The morning sun, when it's in your face, really shows your age. So there's an age difference. If we were talking about a man and a woman, a man and a girl, we'd be discussing the NSPCC, and the Children's Society would be talking about power imbalances and age differences. So this is an older woman exploiting the schoolboy. But that don't worry me none. In my eyes, you're everything. I laughed at all your jokes. My love you didn't need to coax. See, she's using love. She's only using him. He thought that she loved him, and he's being used sexually. Oh, Maggie, I couldn't have tried any more. You lured me away from home just to save you from being alone. She lured him. She's a predator, apparently. She's a predator. Maggie May is a predator. You stole my soul. That's a pain I can do without. So she used affection, she used sex, she lured a schoolboy away from school, and she lured him away from home, didn't she? All I needed was a friend to lend a guiding hand. He was looking for a friend, you see. He was looking for a friend, but instead she turned out to be a sexual predator. But she turned into a lover, and mother, what a lover, you wore me out. Yes, I think that means mother, what a lover, you wore me out. She didn't turn into his mother. She would turn into a lover, that is, she was somebody, an older person. She was a sexual predator. She was taking advantage of a schoolboy. All you did was wreck my bed and in the morning kick me in the head. In other words, she exploited him sexually, didn't she? Oh, Maggie, I couldn't have tried any more. That is, he was giving himself to her. He was a young, impressionable person. He was an older teenager, probably between 16 and 18, because he's still at school. He said he was still at school, he's still living at home. You lured me away from home, because you didn't want to be alone. You stole my heart. I couldn't leave you if I tried. So she used affection and sex. She's using him, and she obviously doesn't care about him, and he knows that. But he's obsessed with her because he's psychologically dependent. He's an impressionable child. There is a power balance. I suppose I should collect my books and get back to school. In other words, she's ostensibly ruined the life of a child, an older teenager. She's interfered with his school. She's interfered with him, basically. She's a sexual predator. Will steal my daddy's cue to make a living out of playing pool. So he's obviously lost all his career prospects due to this wicked, wicked woman. This wicked, wicked woman was a predator. Will find myself a rock and roll band that needs a helping hand. Oh, Maggie, I wish I'd never seen your face. So she was a sexually exploitative older woman. She has used a schoolboy. You made a first-class fool out of me, but I'm as blind as a fool can be. That is, he knows he was used and preyed upon by the sexual exploiter, Maggie May. You stole my heart, but I love you anyway. So he loves her, but he's psychologically dependent. She obviously doesn't care about him. Maggie, I wish I'd never seen your face. According to the NSPCC and the Children's Society, this is how older exploited children often feel. When they've been exploited sexually, they have all these feelings of turmoil. I'm coming home one of these days, whatever that's supposed to mean. I just wanted to make the point here that this was a big pop song, a big rock and roll song, and it shows how society is so tolerant of female exploitation, sexual exploitation of children, that it can be made into a pop song, and people don't even realize it's about the sexual abuse of an older teenager. But the NSPCC and the Children's Society are so concerned, supposedly, about children. And of course, both those societies, the NSPCC and the Children's Society, won't protect a helpless baby male child from male genital mutilation. The worst type of sexual violence. So that's the sort of people we're talking about at the Children's Society and the NSPCC. Bye for now.